Last year, $103 billion was generated in the gaming industry, according to IDG Consulting. The sales of virtual goods ranked in $82 billion of the total gaming industry revenue. In May 2018, Fortnite generated over $300 million in a single month by selling cosmetic items. Due to the competitive and social nature, players want to differentiate themselves from others by customizing and personalizing their avatar and other in-game belongings. In the early arcade games of the 1980s, it was common to include a high score list like this, where players were able to write 3 letters, a symbol of one status they have achieved. This made several youngsters spend a lot of their time and money trying to get their name on that list. And this could have been seen as an early display of the power of avatars, as players wanted to get their representation in a high position in a competitive environment. As the mechanics developed, we were able to, write our full names, change the color of the text, or include a 2D picture to represent us as that specific user. To where we are today, where games are much more advanced, that they allow us to select pre-made 3D avatars to represent us as that specific user in the game. We can also customize those avatars by changing the hairstyles, eye colors, nose shapes, and so on. But what we've seen is that throughout history, avatars have been used to represent a person in a virtual space. As massively multiplayer online games like EverQuest or competitive games like Fortnite entered the scene, such representations become even more important, as other people can meet one's avatar online or learn to recognize him or her by just watching them play. And games nowadays are much more social, making online video games one of the most common places for teens to meet their peers and create lifelong relationships. So the question we have to ask ourselves is it possible to identify with a video game character using the current mechanics? And if not, what are the potential opportunities and options that we do have? We can already today see some of the biggest companies in the gaming industry like EA Games and 2K Games, and of course several smaller ones, including us, Wolf3D, trying to find an answer to that question by building technologies that allow us to bring the user's likeness into the game, so they can scan their face and they can represent them as themselves, as unique individuals. And as time goes by, avatars are becoming more and more important for the users. Because if we're looking at the trends that are happening right now in the gaming industry, we can see a significant shift in blending single and multiplayer experiences together. Meaning we'll see much more open, consistent worlds, focus on multiplayer, and so on. And already today you can see many gaming companies incorporating various aspects of social media into their games to increase the user engagement. We can take Fortnite, for example. Fortnite has taken the world by the storm, and I don't think there has been any piece of social software that has entered pop culture that quickly. No Facebooks, no Instagrams, no Reddits, Twitters, and so on. So why and how did that happen? So my question, or my answer to this question, is that Fortnite is a game, but it's designed as a social software. So what do I mean by that? What does it mean? So first, the main distribution channel for the game is word of mouth. The game spreads through word of mouth. People talking about their experience, their wins, their losses, the mysteries in the game, but also people posting content across different social media platforms like YouTube or Twitch or so on. Fortnite is also fun. It's free and it is accessible on most devices. So essentially by lowering the barrier to entry, anyone who's even slightly interested in the concept can start using the product. They don't need to do specific investment or have dedicated device for that. Also, pop culture is supposed to be fun, not work. And as with products like Facebook, Twitter, and so on, it's fun for users to get lost in those products. And they're accessible wherever we go. Also, Fortnite has seamlessly merged the content creation and content consumption. And it's video first, putting the user in the center of the stories that are being told. The same applies for Facebook's, Instagrams, and so on. And as with most cases, you are playing with your friends, so you're consuming the content that's being created by your friends. But the game works also quite nicely in a single player mode. It's very easy for users to dive in and start using the product. The same is also for the other social softwares like the Instagrams and so on. You don't necessarily need to have a network of friends, or be more precise, you don't need to have any friends to start using the product. But as for both cases, the products get better with friends. Fortnite is better with friends. Because winning a 100-person battle royale alone is very, very difficult. But if you've got some squad mates with whom you can do that, it already gets much easier. And as I mentioned earlier, as in most cases, you're playing with your friends, so you're consuming, while you're watching your friends play, you're consuming the content that's being created by them. The same as you consume content on Facebook's newsfeed that your friends have created. They don't necessarily need to be some glamorous influencers for that. And last, it's the culture. Fortnite also creates culture outside of the game. The narrative arcs of the seasons, the mysteries, and the Easter eggs in the game all generate buzz around the game. And it drives players to extensively discuss the game inside the forums, in real life, and so on. But it also drives media companies to publish explainers. So in both ways, increasing the interest in the game. And also the user culture in the game is self-propagating. So by watching other people play the game, you're learning the tutorial aspect of the game, meaning how to be good at Fortnite. But you are also learning the culture aspect of the game, like what are the latest memes, the victory dances, the most popular skins, and so on. So essentially you're learning how to be a cool kid in this Fortnite culture. And those spread the same way as face filters spread in the early days of Snapchat. So the first time you saw a face filter, you became obsessed with it, you wanted to learn more about it, how can you do it yourself, and so on. But most importantly, as with any social software, in the center of all of those pillars, it's you. It's you, the user, it's you, the consumer. You are in the center of all of those experiences, whether you are posting a video about your avatar doing some crazy dance moves, or whether you are communicating with your friends through your avatar. You are in the center of all of those experiences. And Epic Games has understood that very well. They've created a whole business model around avatar customization and personalization. That's how they are making over $300 million every month. Because essentially by allowing the players to buy outfits, accessories, skins, and so on to personalize their avatars. And the investments done in the form of personalization are also the key components of why people keep coming back to the game. But personalized avatars let people to do more than just have fun. They allow them to show off their achievements. So like, for example, certain skins or accessories, rare items, if you're giving those if you're giving access for a certain group of people who are strong contributors to the community, you are rewarding them for their hard work, but you're also allowing them to show off their social status to the other players around them, generating all sorts of social motivations, and it creates envy in other players. Because naturally, when we put effort into creating something, we start feeling strong sense of ownership towards it. Once we own something, we want to protect it, we want to nurture it, we want to improve it. So by driving players to emotionally invest into the avatars, we're actually driving them to invest into the game itself. And the best way to drive players to emotionally invest into their avatars is to give them an option to create their own self-avatars. Because in the end of the day, we are all stuck to some extent in the people we are and the bodies we have. But the thing is, anyone who's capable of compassion, imagination, or identification wonders what it is to be like someone else. What if I were the superhero in the game, battling with my fellow friends, trying to, gain the victory? And of course, how can you not wonder about that? So I'd like to also go over the science of using personalized avatars in video games, like what's happening in one's brain. Face itself is a very strong stimulus generating cortisol activation, which is associated with our attention process. So studies have shown that avatars with Selfphase facilitate human attention grabbing capacity, meaning virtual avatar with your own face, at least on a neurological level, can be considered the same as a real person. Also, we can use personalized avatars to increase the immersion in the games, because various researchers who are studying the psychology of our video game characters say that having a personalized avatars communicates identity to the other players around us, generating all sorts of social motivations that drive the gameplay. In addition to that, the more closely an avatar resembles its user, the more likely the user will have positive attitudes like affection, connection, or passion towards the game or experience. And compared to generic counterparts like pre-made avatars, generic avatars, personalized avatars significantly increase more body ownership, presence, and dominance, even though the quality might be exactly the same. Also, it's good for creating retention. So people who are studying why we continue playing the games and what are the associations with it to our avatars say that when it comes to users wanting to keep playing the game, experiencing the character ranks higher than destruction or killing the enemies. Meaning the more we can relate to one's avatar, the more we want to keep playing the game. But also we can use it to increase spending. Recently there has been a lot of fuss around the concept of self-endorsement. But actually the concept of self-endorsement is not something very new. It's been used by big corporations in their advertisement strategies for a long time already. So the concept of self-endorsement actually means portraying the potential user using your product before they actually use it. So let me give you some examples. For example, LinkedIn had a campaign when they took users' profile pictures, their names, and promoted certain job positions like my picture, Kaspar Tiri, my name, project manager, Microsoft, apply now. Or Snapchat essentially uses the very same concept to sell their ad stickers. Or Disney launching several products that allow kids to put their faces on Disney princess dolls so they can increase the brand engagement and increase their sales. So essentially all of those use cases, which are supported by research, say that having a personalized avatar with Selfphase increases the purchase intention and also increases the brand engagement. So we can apply the same thing to our games to increase the avatar-related spending by outfits or customization. Because when it comes to customizing one's avatar, it's often about building a better version of ourselves. Meaning people tend to create slightly idealized versions based on our actual selves. So we can use this information to create additional monetization strategies as developers. So all of this that I mentioned is strongly related to how much we enjoy the game, or how immersed do we become, or as developers, what are the monetization strategies we can use. But most importantly, for the end user, it's about how do we identify ourselves in the game. So why I'm here and why I'm telling you this is because my company, Wolf3D, has been digitalizing people for the last 4 years. We have a lot of experience in that field. As you can see there, we actually started by building full body 3D scanners where we captured everything from head to toe. So we did full body captures. But very quickly, as you can see there, we understood that first, people are very self-conscious about their bodies. We don't like how our bodies look like. But also it was technically very costly to scale this kind of technology to millions or billions of people. So we built another product that you can see there in the bottom, which is this spaceship-looking scanning booth. So this was a scanning booth that worked automatically, and we were able to build a network of those booths in the US and in Europe. So people were able to walk inside the booth, make a scan of themselves, and receive a virtual version of themselves as a specific movie character or something else. But as I mentioned earlier, our goal has always been to build technology that is accessible to everyone. And at one point, we ended up with a very large database of real human face scans. We were able to leverage this to build a solution that's accessible to anyone who has a smart device with a camera. So that's essentially our product today. So we had to do another pivot. So our technology works or is able to, based on a single image, generate a realistic 3D avatar of a person under 5 seconds. So this is a game-ready asset, meaning it's real, it has all of the topology that's needed. But also, we understood that every game has different design, the visual fidelity, and so on. So we built another layer on top of our technology, which we call 3D face filters. So those 3D face filters allow us to take the realistic avatars that we create and transform them into any kind of style that's needed. So as a full pipeline, we can generate, based on a single image, a game-ready asset with your technical needs, and also the visual quality is the same as your game has. So right now, we're working with different game companies to help them increase their user engagement and also increase their sales. So users can, based on a photo, generate their own avatars. But also AR, VR companies are very interesting for us because we feel that VR is very lonely experience when there's not humans. And us, as humans, we're social animals. So it's a crucial component there. But also some bigger brands and corporates who are trying to find who are trying to find the ways to use immersive technologies to increase their customer experience. But because I cannot talk a lot about the deals and the partnerships we have because of the pile of NDAs that we have, I'd rather open up now for questions. But actually, before I finish, if you're a developer interested in bringing people into the virtual worlds, We are hiring, so come and talk with me. We'd love to learn more about you. But for now, thank you for your time.